Good morning, President Kimbrough, Board of Trustees, honored guests, faculty, staff, alumni, family, and the wonderful class of 2018. I am Dominique Nash, a public health major from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I am your 2017-2018 senior class president. It is an honor and privilege to introduce today's commencement speaker. Chancellor Jonathan Bennett, professionally known as Chance the Rapper, is a native of Chicago, Illinois. He is a renowned singer, songwriter, record producer, and rapper. Hailing from West Chatham on Chicago's South Side, he began his journey for change by inspiring others through his lyrics. As a wise man once said, "Chance, you have done remarkable and wondrous things." That man was your father, Ken Bennett. He has been the recipient of numerous music awards, including Grammy Awards for Best New Artist, Best Rap Performance, and Best Rap Album. In 2015, he was listed on the Forbes 30 Under 30 music list. And Chance, you really do have a bigger voice than number 45. An avid community activist, he was among the performers to headline the inaugural Obama Summit in Chicago. In 2014, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel named him Chicago's Outstanding Youth of the Year. Through his nonprofit, Social Works, that works with Chicago youth to empower them through the arts, education, and civic engagement, he has made a significant impact in Chicago's public school system. To quote Chance, "Together we'll shape the musicians of tomorrow by supporting the kids today." Through the new Chance and Arts Literature Fund, he has raised over $2.2 million to help fund arts programs and materials to schools in the Chicago area. That's right, give him a hand clap. Chance has also joined forces with other nonprofits, such as the Empowerment Plan, that provided coats to the homeless in Chicago. This initiative, Warmest Winter, has raised over $117,000 in donations and provided over 1,100 coats to the homeless. Clap it up. Along with other celebrities, he joined former President Barack Obama's My Brother's Keeper Challenge that promotes racial justice and addresses the unique challenges facing young men of color. Being a huge fan of Chance the Rapper, he has taught me that when the praises go up, the blessings really do come down. And this day is evident that no one can stop us because we have angels watching over us as we march down the Avenue of the Oaks. Please, please help me give an enthusiastic Dillard Blue Pride Dillard University welcome to Chancellor Jonathan Bennett, a positive change agent for our youth, Chance the Rapper.
Yeah. Good morning. It's honestly an honor to be in front of you guys today under this beautiful but invasive New Orleans sun. Firstly, I want to thank Dr. Kimbrough for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to speak to you guys on this day. I want to give a shout out to our alumni in the front, you know what I'm saying? What y'all, class of 68? You look like the class of 78, y'all look great. I want to give a shout out to all the family and friends, the guests in the building that came to support today. I want to give a shout out to all the mamas in the crowd, all the grandmas in the crowd, all the young, pretty aunties in the crowd. I see you. And most importantly, I want to hype up the class of 2018. This y'all day. Get hype. Today I want to talk to you guys about greatness and what it means to live into your greatness without fear. In order to do that, I need to talk to you guys about the greatest performance of all time, put on by the greatest performer of all time. But in order to do that, I got to take you back. I got to take you way back. Can we go way back for a second? In the year 1997, the year a lot of y'all was born, I myself had my own graduation, much like this. Maybe not all the glitz and glamour of you guys with your accredited, historically black college, liberal arts college, but a graduation nonetheless. In high school, they didn't let me walk, and this is actually the first time I've ever been to a college graduation. But in 1997, Small Stride Academy Preschool held what would be one of the most important moments in my educational life. I remember it like it was yesterday. I can see the program in my head, itemized like a list. National anthem, introduction from the teachers, whole class sings I Can Show You the World by Aladdin. And next, its own line item, Chancellor Bennett, Michael Jackson dance. The teacher pressed skip on a mix CD, and the timidly smooth sounds of Peebo Bryson startlingly transitioned to the drum break of Billie Jean. Underneath my gown, I had a tan suit with a vest, and in the pockets, I had shades. Wardrobe change. I leapt from the Small Stride pre-K choir into my moment. This was a solo. This was the only solo on that graduation program that day. This was a moment for me. I placed the shades on my face. Moments like this aren't the ones you're just ready for or even born for. This moment was born for me. A thought conceived in the minds of the faculties on our group trips to the bathroom when I was so bubbling with charisma and talent that I could not simply stand still in a line. My teachers saw my adolescent obsession and lifelike imitations of his dancing as an opportunity to bring him out at our ceremony. They asked me to be Mike, and I delivered. Every spin, turn, crotch grab, moonwalk was perfectly executed. I practiced, better yet rehearsed, for weeks. I was pure 100% Michael Jackson in that moment. I copied what he did perfectly. And that was not the greatest performance ever. I still have yet to tell you about that. I owe not only my musical stylings and preferences to Mike, but also my interest in the subject at all. I've always loved Michael Jackson. I was introduced to my craft and my livelihood by this man. And throughout my childhood, watching him taught me a lot of the lessons I try to carry with me as a performer today. Work hard, captivate your audience, and above all, never set any limitations on your own greatness. He was the greatest. I spent hours of my life staring at Mike through the screen, watching him, learning from him. The craftsmanship and showmanship exhibited in his live shows was a dedication I'd never seen once before. MJ's movement was all his own. The craftsmanship and showmanship exhibited in his live shows. I'm not a speaker. I read the same sentence twice. Let's get through this. You got this, boy. I'm killing it so far, though. Back to MJ. MJ's movement was all his own, and through music videos, performances, activism, and cultural impact, he solidified his space in world history. His ability to turn something as practical as a hat or a glove or sunglasses into a magician's instrument made me believe in superhuman abilities. Michael had once performed at the Soul Train Awards. He had injured his leg weeks earlier, and thus he was bound to a chair, or an Egyptian throne, rather, as he performed Remember the Time for a galvanized audience and created another moment with the slightest movement, just standing up. It could move you. It would move you. And I know I'm not the only one. Generations of little black kids have been mesmerized before the TV screen or YouTube, watching as Mike seemed to do the impossible. One of those little black kids will grow up to be someone especially amazing. She would do more than just copy Mike. She would surpass him. And now, I'm going to tell you about the greatest performance put on by the greatest performer of all time, and it wasn't Mike. Beyonce. In real time, in one fell swoop, she eclipsed every Grammy performance, every Super Bowl halftime show, every talent show. Literally any performance from the beginning of time, in contrast, became outdated and obsolete. This was Coachella. She had her share of church solos and showcases. She experienced the wear and tear of road life, band life, and childhood superstardom. The toughest hardships and most triumphant accomplishments all faltered in comparison to this performance. Don't get me wrong, her Love on Top baby reveal and the choreo from the Single Ladies video were revolutionary and were absolutely integral in getting to the Coachella set. But this was the greatest performance of all time. She did so much, and she did it with military precision. The minute she began to sing, Lift Every Voice and Sing, I realized this was no longer a festival. Some barrel of people clustered, camping in the desert. This became a formal event where we needed our national anthem. It was like a processional, like a ritual. Before the games could begin, and she brought so many people with her, a group of amazing young people who had dedicated their lives to drumming, to singing, to baton twirling. All these people had a chance to be a part of something, an integral piece of the greatest performance of all time. Thank you. I'm hot at the What? In her show, she was the culmination of every black child that has dedicated their lives to art and performance to shine in their excellence. Y'all could tell I'm hot, huh? In her show, she was a culmination of every black child that has dedicated their lives to art and performance to shine and relish in their excellence. Everything she gave to the audience, the marching band, her choreography, the musical transitions, the use of the catwalk, her wardrobe changes, all reflected her ability to do the impossible. It was a production as grandiose as the Olympics and as intimate as a phone call. The spectrum of emotion that was evoked and how sporadically it moved me was almost overwhelming. And then I happened to turn and see the woman standing next to me and the look on her face. This woman was none other than Tina Knowles. I had the incredible privilege of standing next to the woman who birthed Beyonce. And in that moment, it was like all the lights and sounds melted away, and I was just watching a mother who was so proud of her daughter. As I watched Miss Tina, I thought about all the sacrifices she must have had to make for this moment. I thought about all the costumes she used to make for her daughter's performances. The early mornings and late nights she must have dedicated to taking them to practices and lessons. The money she had to save. And while everyone else was completely awed by what they saw, almost like they were witnessing magic, Miss Tina had a different look on her face. It was an expression of satisfaction. Like seeing a seed she had planted come into bloom, it was the face of someone who feels complete and whole. Like a woman getting what she's owed. In that instance, I realized something. I realized that all of us have a responsibility to be greater than the people who came before us. We have a responsibility to be not as good as them or live up to their example, but to actually surpass them, even when it seems scary. We have to overcome that fear and be greater than our role models. Beyonce's performance was better than any performance Michael Jackson ever did. That woman, better than Mike. Black woman, better than Mike. I said it. I understand that's upsetting to a few people here, probably. I'm sure that after I speak today, a few magazines and blogs will ignore everything else I say and hone in on that part. Chance says, Beyonce, better than Mike. Go ahead, put it in print. We have to erase the fear and stigma behind eclipsing our heroes. I know there's some Michael Joseph Jackson diehards out there who, like me, know his birthday and would never sully the name greatest or king by lending his crown to another, who, like me, have seen all the performances. Motown 25, live at Wembley Stadium, the Bad Tour, live in Bucharest, the MTV 1995 Movie Awards, the 1988 Grammy Awards, who, like me, have seen all the tapes. Michael Jackson Moonwalker, Michael Jackson The Legend Continues, the Jacksons, An American Dream. I could go on. I'm a real fan. I do this. I love him, but Beyonce had the greatest performance of all time. Kanye shrugged. It happened. And because it happened, it's inspired me to look forward to seeing more of the greatest happenings eclipsed by even greater happenings. With that performance, I realized that greatness can never be stagnant. To quote Bruce Lee, we must be like water, adapting to our container, always changing with the times. And that means being better than the people who came before us. Some people might find this kind of talk disrespectful, but it's exactly the opposite. The highest form of respect that we can pay to the people who came before us, the people who sacrificed for us and gave us everything, is to be better than them. I'm killing this right now. I wrote this. What up, Dad? I'm gonna be better than you. It's to be better than them. Our parents, grandparents, ancestors sacrificed not so that we could keep doing the same thing that they were doing, but so that we could be better. To simply copy them would be almost an insult to their sacrifice. If I were to say right now that someone in this room will do more for black people than Dr. Martin Luther King, a lot of people would find that offensive. But to the man who directly spoke to seeing over the mountaintop, knowing he might not get there with us, truth is, it would be counterproductive to find complacency in where he brought us. Dr. King's service to the movement was movement. And sometimes by immortalizing someone and their accomplishments, we immobilize the very thing that they believed in. We have to create new moves. We cannot revere anyone so much that we become afraid to reach their heights or grow past them. You do a disservice trying to live up to your ancestors. You have to outlive them. I'm saying a word, huh? Dr. King never wanted to be your king. He wanted to serve his community, folks in the South, folks in Chicago, his people. It would be in direct opposition of his efforts toward the liberation of black people to not do better. People tend, I know this is going to get some people upset. Let me wipe my sweat off before I say that. It's going to get hot. People tend to get worked up in the LeBron-Michael Jordan conversations. Thought y'all was going to have pitchforks and fire for me on this joint. It's cool. We're going smooth in this. People tend to get worked up in the LeBron-Michael Jordan conversations. And it's tough on LeBron. LeBron ain't this. LeBron ain't that. LeBron ain't got 6 rings. LeBron ain't Mike. But that's the point. LeBron can't be Mike. If LeBron James went out on the floor every night and played like Mike, he would lose. His body's not made for that. He can't go out there and just mimic and emulate the greatest. He has to be the greatest in his way, in his body. He has to pass the ball when others would shoot. He has to take over when others would pass. He has to win ships in his hometown. He has to open schools in his hometown and lead the players' union. He has to be his best. Because every night, LeBron not just playing against whoever's on the floor that night. He's competing against all his contemporaries. Everyone in his league, everybody in his realm. And not just that, but his idols. And his idols' ops. Y'all don't hear me though. Okay, cool. Let me break it down then. It's easy to get hung up on this MJ LeBron thing, but think about this. People always want to compare their competition. They say they didn't go up against the same opponents. But in every area of life, we'll always have new opponents. Where Michael Jordan had Karl Malone and Clyde Drexler, LeBron has the Russell Westbrooks and the Steph Currys of the world. And while we're trying to become better, know that our opponents, our oppressors, our ops, are getting better at what they do. They have new tools, new technologies, and they are also learning from the people who came before them. The systems and structures that were used to oppress us throughout history, redlining, Jim Crow, have had lasting generational ramifications and only been symbolically abolished, if not blatantly replaced, by the drug war and mass incarceration. The world changes. Our enemies change. And we have to change, not just to keep up with them, but to be faster, smarter, and stronger than them, better than them. So as I look out to each of you, I see people who I know are capable of greatness. Many of you will strive to be artists, doctors, lawyers, politicians, scientists. And as you do that, there will be moments of fear. Moments where you walk right up to the edge of what your heroes have accomplished and think to yourself, what's beyond this? I don't know. I'm scared to go on. And that is the moment when you have become as great as your greatest inspiration. And that's also when you cannot stop. Living up to your heroes is amazing, but it's not good enough. The difference between goodness and greatness is going beyond. You have to push forward and surpass their greatness in order to pay homage to their struggle. Don't be afraid. Beyonce had Mike. Mike didn't have Mike. Mike had James Brown. James Brown had Cab Calloway, and so on and so on. Right now, the greatest performer who ever lived might very well be in this audience. And that person has something, and that person has something, and that person has something Beyonce never had. They got Beyonce. And so you have the greatest performance of all time to watch, to study it, to learn from it, but not to replicate it, to surpass it. Class of 2018, I can't wait to see what you guys do for this world. Thank you so much for letting me graduate. And now I'm a doctor.